Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Holt Training, and welcome to this week's tutorial where we're going to be talking about a scoliosis breathing technique. Now we're going to be focusing on the benefits of it, but I will be touching on the mechanics of it as well and the type of things that you need to be thinking about when you're sort of trying to understand this breathing technique, because it isn't as necessarily as easy to do as it is to describe, because you have to put a bit of a conscious effort into the breathing technique. So if we come on to sort of the benefits of it, number one, the diaphragm functions more normally. So what that means is, if we just use this diagram over here for sort of demonstration purposes, and let's just put a scoliotic curve in through here. Now what you'll see is that the lung will be slightly sort of squashed by the spine, whereas on this side it will be slightly more open. Now what that's doing, that's also creating a dysfunction through the diaphragm, which sits just underneath, because when you breathe in, that diaphragm needs to come down, and then what that does, that pulls air in through the nose and through the mouth. If this side is more open and this side is slightly more squashed, what's going to happen is this side is going to dominate. It's going to create more function through this lung and less function through this lung. So as a starting point, what we have to be able to do is start accessing this left side lung here. Now, when I'm talking about left and right, I'm talking from the perspective of this diagram here. Your curve might be slightly different. Your curve could be in the opposite direction. So in a sense, you have to flip my right and left comments. So I'm talking from the perspective of this to be able to help you understand the principles of these points that I'm talking about. The second point is the ribs are mobilized. Now again, when we're breathing, we want to be focusing our breathing first of all from the abdomen, and then second of all from the rib cage. So the breathing from the abdomen will access the diaphragm and start to get it to function more normally. What we then need to be able to do is, if you go back to my video called the 5 Fundamental Steps of Scoliosis Treatment, what you're hearing there is me talking about actively elongating the spine. So if you can actively elongate this curve, so if you can make it more straight in a sense, what you'll be doing is you'll be opening out that scoliotic curve. Because when you're in a scoliotic curve, what you tend to find is that your ribs will be closer together. On the other side, they'll be slightly further apart. So they're slightly more open. So the joint between the rib and the spine, which in a sense they float slightly, they become squashed. So what you need to be able to do is elongate the spine, align the spine in that more straight position, and then that will start to mobilize the ribs and it will start to open out those joints. If you then start breathing from the diaphragm using the abdominals, you'll start to pull the abdominals down and you'll open out that chest cavity more evenly. Because if you just do it with a more scoliotic curve, so you've got more of a curve there, you'll just enhance the side that's more open, and you'll, in a sense, you'll stop or depress the side that's more squashed on the concave side. So we need to start focusing on elongating the spine, number one. That will help the spine function more normally. Then you start focusing on breathing from the abdomen, which again will help draw the diaphragm down. And then as you open out the chest cavity, what you'll then start to do is you'll start mobilizing these the ribs on the concave side. So on this more curved side here. So these will start spreading apart, these ribs. What this will then do is this will then stimulate pulmonary alveoli. So the alveoli is where you breathe in through the nose or mouth, it goes down through the windpipe into the lungs where it splits into either lung. Now obviously on this side, which is more squashed, if you can open it out, mobilize the ribs some more, you'll start to draw more oxygen into this lung here. And if you're breathing from the diaphragm, it will come down deeper into the lung because you'll be pulling the air to the bottom using the diaphragm. Now, because your lung has been squashed, the alveoli won't be being used as much. So if you don't use it, your body will, in a sense, lose it. So what we have to do is we have to open out this lung on the left-hand side, which will then stimulate the pulmonary alveoli, which will then allow you to pull more oxygen into this lung, evening the sort of the air drawn in from each lung. And this is going to help things like your aerobic capacity, because you're going to be more evenly distributed between each lung. And then this will just have a knock-on effect and a very indirect fringe benefit of helping your immune system work more effectively. Now, from these benefits, the mechanics of it is basically what you want to be doing. You can't quite see it in this diagram because I've kind of drawn over it. But what this girl is doing here, or this female is doing here, is she is breathing on this side of her body. So when you look at this image, what you'll see is this side is slightly protruding out, whereas here it's slightly curved in. So what she's doing is when she's breathing in, bringing the air in and trying to suck it down into this left-hand side. So it's now actively engaging this lung here. So she's actively keeping her spine in a more straight position. She's then actively breathing from this side of her body by pushing out this side of her abdomen, which is then going to pull the oxygen down into this lung and then get these three benefits. So the left side of her diaphragm is going to start functioning, which will make the entire diaphragm function more normally. Her ribs will mobilize, and the space between them will begin to separate a little bit more, which will again help the lungs function more normally. And then she'll be stimulating more alveoli within that, which will then have a knock-on effect on your immune system. So this is a brief overview of a scoliosis breathing technique, in that we don't necessarily breathe down through both lungs. We try and dominate our breathing through the squashed lung, or the lung that is on the concave side of your scoliotic curve, be it on the right or the left, depending on your curve. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an insight into your breathing. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch the 5 fundamentals of scoliosis treatment to learn how to actively engage and elongate your trunk and spine, and then come back to this breathing technique. So if you found this video helpful, please do come along to any of my social media. Please do like, follow, subscribe to any of them. If you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, press the bell button, and you'll get notifications on when the next video is coming out. Also, if you found anything useful in this video, please pop a comment below. If you like this video, again, please pop a comment below or just give it a thumbs up. If you have a question about anything that's in this video, again, please pop it in the comments section below. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris. I will speak to you in next week's tutorial.